Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this afternoon session. I'm Dan Powers. I work at Docker. I've been working at Docker for the last 4 years or so and work on partner technology issues, and I'm just also love to come to these conferences and especially host and MC the ecosystem track, because you always have interesting stuff, some things very practical and some things with a little more thoughtful vision. Now I'm pleased to announce Ashley Ward from Twistlock, who's Principal Solution Architect, and he's going to tell us about the intriguing title, The Cloud Continuum, and how to choose what to use. So please welcome.
Very much. Thank you. Hello all. Yes, as you heard, I'm Ashley Ward. And possibly, as you can tell from my accent, I'm based in Scotland. The bad news is I do work for a vendor, the Twistlock, and I've got the t-shirt on to prove it. But the good news is I'm not actually going to be talking to you about Twistlock stuff. But obviously, because they pay my salary, please remember and buy lots of Twistlocks on your way out. OK, let's have a quick look through here. That's me. The beard's a choice. It's not an affliction. But I enjoy it, and I look good. So there we are. OK, what we're looking to talk about today is Twistlock do cloud-native security. We work across all that kind of stuff, and it's all about securing containers and serverless functions and this kind of thing. But this talk isn't about that. This talk instead is about what we can see here. And it's about looking at that cloud-native continuum and then going, well, what is it? How do you choose what to use? Really, the thing is that we all, this is a very creaky floor. Let me go here. We all want to use things because there are cool things out there. So I was no different. Docker came along. Docker was awesome. Really is awesome. Wanted to use that. Needed to find a use for it. Started playing with containers. People go, right, so we should containerize all the things then. Serverless is now upon us. Should we go everything into serverless? Well, as with all these things, it actually depends on the business benefit. Sadly, a lot of this talk is going to be around, it depends on the business benefit. And it depends on what you're using it for. Hopefully, we can clarify some stuff around when to use things. But the main thing, and all of the stuff you're doing, if you're looking at serverless, which is awesome, you should also be thinking, but is this the right workload? Am I going to be achieving that business benefit? Because if you're not doing the business benefit, then you're not doing IT properly. We're no longer just that cost center that's a back office function. Everything, as we heard from the keynote, everything's a software company. Everything needs to be delivering that way. So what have we got? Well, we've got, as you can see from this lovely, lovely slide that marketing put together for me, you get to see this nice little bit about the isolation, compatibility, control that comes on one side, all the way through to the lovely density and agility and all that kind of good stuff that comes with that. And we like to look at it and say, well, you have, on the one side, you've got your traditional VMs, and then moving through from containers as a service, and of course, serverless, I've been talking about there. Virtual machines. Well, we're all pretty familiar with virtual machines now. I mean, they do provide a great level of isolation and control. You've got a recognized and well-used interface, if you like, through that operating system. So you've got traditional workloads on VMs and traditional workloads on just bare metal. But actually, VMs are very familiar. We like them. We like the idea of having more density and actually being able to pack our machines and actually pack our physical machines and have those VMs with still the same level of control. As it says there, they can operate in either a stateful or a stateless fashion. They're basically the same as any other type of workload that we had there. We've got this whole idea of that they're suitable, not always optimized, for any workload. I mean, you think about how the days have changed from when I was a Unix admin, and you would have a certain database vendor who would say that you could only get support if you recreated the problem on bare metal machines that you had in VMs, which is crazy, isn't it? But that's actually the world that we lived in. But VMs have all that control. They're familiar. They're what we know about. We're in DockerCon, so everybody here has all the love for the containers. Containers. Why do we love containers? We all love containers because of that agility. We love that fact that Docker made it so easy to make use of them. I mean, Docker, containers aren't new. Even I was messing around with Solaris zones back in the day. They just made it in a nice way of packaging things, of sharing things, about being able to deliver that same development and dev, test, and prod, shipping it all out. I'm looking at you. Sorry, that's Dominique. She's very friendly and very nice, and she's putting me off. So increased agility, but you lose control. And one of the things that, for me, containers was about that nice little contract between dev and ops. Because before you would have a lovely server, a lovely VM, use case for a VM there. You want full control of the operating system. And you need to be able to do everything for the services that are running inside there. Now, that's all well and good, except that then you have that dependence on the operating system. So all your lovely development stuff that's coming through that needs different libraries, you end up having to deal with me when I was a Unix admin who just says no all the time. Can we put this new fancy version of blah on? No. We need to allow this to run. Can we get root access? No. Because the service that's on top of that VM was the important part. So what was great about containers? Containers are great because all of a sudden I'm saying, here's your image, do what you like with the image. I'm actually running your service and their service and everyone's service in exactly the same way because, like those lovely videos this morning, those shipping containers that we just treat them all as the same thing. So that's great. But you still have to manage and you still have to look at the operating system. You do lose the control that you have with VMs, but actually you're passing that control to DevOps teams. So DevOps teams are now having that responsibility of keeping those images up to date, of maintaining them, which should free up your operations people, these traditional titles, to actually develop and maintain the platform more. Should. So when would you use containers instead of VMs? Well, is there a business benefit there? Do you need to move something, like we saw this morning? Do you need to move something because you have new regulatory requirements? You've got new security standards that you need to meet. And if you treat everything the same way, then actually having them as a container, you can get a lot of big wins there. Containers can be complex due to broad configurability. Well, I think we've seen that that's not the case. Docker have made it very easy and very simple for us all to embrace containers. I'd say that a little bit tongue-in-cheek. They're not. You're still doing things with an operating system. You're still looking at libraries that are inside there. You've still got ports to contend with. We've still got certificates, which are the bane of everybody's life. We've still got all these things that we need to deal with the container. But the idea being that we can share this. But anyway, control can be shared between developers and traditional operations. Containers as a service. So what have we got from a containers as a service point of view? So you lose a lot of control when you look at containers as a service. If you've got full control of your VMs and everything that could possibly run inside there, with the containerized world, you're moving away from that and you're giving those DevOps teams to have control of what's going to be inside their containers and managing those, and you still have that infrastructure underneath. With containers as a service, though, of course, you lose that control there. But you gain an awful lot more. Perhaps you've got this developer-led infrastructure looking at the bottom up. We're giving more control over to the developer, but you're also shifting operational responsibility that way as well. And this is where it comes back to, it depends. How mature is your business when it comes to running containers? How mature are your business practices? How mature are your different teams that are there? Have you got a model where you would normally get some money, and you get the money for doing a project, that money gets spent on the project, and then it's delivered into production and forgotten about, and it needs to go into an operational mode where someone patches it every so often? Or are you right the other way, where you actually have projects or teams of people who are then forever owning that service? You have a business unit, you have a business owner of that service who is feeding stuff back into an agile workflow, perhaps putting in things into a product backlog in order to make sure that service continues to live and develop. If you've got that, then you're going to be much more towards the developer-led infrastructure. If you don't have that, you're going to be a lot more towards the operational control because you want to slow down change and do things in a traditional manner because you don't have that business infrastructure there for it. What else with containers as a service? A big thing with containers as a service is you may have a cloud strategy where you're going to be hybrid. You want to make use of multiple different tools and technologies. That's great. If you go into the container as a service land, or as we see from the serverless side of things, you're actually you're locking yourself in there. Or you're having to do a lot more developmental effort in order to be able to still cross those different cloud boundaries. So again, sorry, it depends. How is your business looking? How are you moving towards the cloud? Are you willing to accept that you're a small startup, you've got full control over the tech stack, and you're willing to devote entirely into one cloud? And worst case, you're willing to do all that development effort into another cloud? Or are you part of a very large enterprise who's saying things like, no, we need to be multi-cloud, we're multi-cloud from the beginning, so in fact we cannot make use of those containers as service or these serverless functions because that would be too much dedication into one cloud? That's something else you need to think about. How likely is your business to suddenly fall out with a vendor and say, you know what, we're not using any of their stuff anymore? Because that's in a whole world of hurt for you to port everything across. Serverless. Serverless really is cool. I like serverless. I was never a developer, so I can't actually do anything with serverless, but I really like it. Now, no ops, I preferred it when it was on no ops. As ops, I always thought no ops, yeah, okay. Anyway, serverless though, what is really great about serverless? When you think about it, you have that complete control is now over to the developer. And if the developer is indeed bringing business benefit in, because we're expecting more change, faster change, software is eating the world, all that kind of good stuff, then yes, you want to put full control for your devs teams in order for them to be able to deliver these benefits. Well, that's great. At this point in time, though, you are then going to have that same question and talk with your business or with yourselves and go, what happens if we fall out with this vendor? What happens if we are misconfiguring everything? What happens if who controls this and makes sure that it's scalable and runnable? Well, the cloud provider does that. Well, yeah, but we've got some code optimization. Where is it running? Do we know what's running in here? Are these running in containers on their infrastructure? Well, yeah, the answer is yeah, you don't have that visibility. You won't know. And it could change as well. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that if your business is such that you need to have that control and visibility into all the phases through that development lifecycle, then perhaps serverless isn't going to be that great for you. But again, it depends. However, so I'm not too much of a downer on everybody because everyone's looking very glum after lunch. However, the benefits are there. If you have something that is optimized for running in a serverless way, if you do have that structure and process and ownership that's there as part of your business, then serverless is a great thing. You can really get pushing a lot of benefit and you can really empower your developers in order to be able to deliver these business benefits. Go on, serverless. So these ones here, I kind of did this slide and I put some questions up there. And then I deleted them, and then I put some more questions up there, and I deleted them again, and I toyed with the idea of just putting depends. And I thought, people are going to fall out with me if I just put depends. And so we heard that daft Scotsman and his stupid beard whittling away. We should have something up here. So what are the questions here? You've got on the one side, we've seen VMs, all the way through to serverless functions. If you have no intention of using a cloud provider whatsoever, because for whatever reason you or your business have decided, regulatory, just think cloud's a fad, whatever reasons, whatever business reasons you've got, if you want to stick to VMs on-premise, that's fine. And it probably means that you're not going to then look at anything else on the far right. You're not going to do serverless because you'd have to maintain your own runtime there. You might do a platform, your containers as a service, and roll your own there, this kind of thing. These are all the questions you need to see. But the first one there, am I going to use a cloud provider? If you're not using a cloud provider, managed Kubernetes in a cloud ain't going to help for you. Serverless isn't going to help you. That can get rid of a lot. How much control do you want over your environment? I say want because a lot of the times we say things like, I need to have full control over the entire stack. And actually, if you revisit that and look at it, you don't need that. You want that control. Even and I've talked to a number of different clients and various different verticals who are doing, well, we are Uber secure company number one. And you talk to them, and then you find out that, yeah, they want to be Uber secure company number one, but actually they're not. They're still using their old Solaris machine. They've still got any firewall rules in place because that just works, and don't mess around with it. How much control do you need? If you do need that control, and there are valid reasons to have that control, again, you're going to say, well, I'm either going to stick with VMs, or perhaps bare metal, or I'm going to look at containers, or containers as a service might now be pushing it a little bit because I still have those operational needs and ops teams that are delivering it. Remember we talked about the whole, how's your company structured, how's your company operating? All of this, and I know this is a tech conference, and I've not discussed tech, but this is all important stuff. How much can you resource for? This is a huge one. Everybody wants to do everything very good, because we do, we're professionals, that's what we want to run and do the nicest stuff. We look at things and we go, wow, with these DevOps cycles that I have, I'm going to have a secure pipeline, I'm going to deploy automatically, I'm going to have some gates that are checkpoints that are automated because it sends someone an email and they go, yeah, everything's going to work great. You do need to resource that, though. You do need to look at the automation around there and go, really, why am I doing this? What's the benefit? What's the business benefit? These are the people who are paying me, or your customers, or whatever you're doing. You need to look and go, what's the business benefit for this? Is it worth the automation effort that I'm going to put in? Especially if I'm in a company where I have, I ask for money, money gets delivered, I do my project, I throw it over the wall, and I walk away from my next job. If I'm in that kind of business, you don't want to have something that you're having to continually manage. You're going to want to be as operational as possible there and say, these team over here do the patching, so we're going to have controls. Okay, a lot of talking there for that one. Should my developers focus on application performance or compatibility? What does that mean? Well, so we all care more and more about security. We all care more and more about reliability of services. The service has become more and more important as we understand how that makes up our different applications and what we're doing. And it's become even more so, you don't need to think back that long, where you would expect a company to have an outdated, outmoded IT system that was kind of clunky and nobody liked. It was expected. Now people, employees, customers, management, they all expect and want to have a slick user experience. They want to see things coming through. But if you focus on building lawnmowers and don't have any external thing coming in, then do you really need to, what is it you need to do for performance? Do we care? It's just a server in a data center. So again, it depends. Compatibility, that point there, that's actually around how you would have what we talked about when we said we've got different cloud providers and we need to make sure that everything's working together. If you're a company, and I've been in many of them, where we've decided we're doing AWS, we're all in on AWS, we're not doing anything else, then your compatibility is pretty clear. You're just saying, well, we're willing to stick with them over a long period of time. If you're in a company where you've got hybrid clouds, you perhaps have internal workload as well as external workload for business reasons, because there are always business reasons for this. Then you've got developers who are then focusing on the compatibility of different things. Whereas before, that would have been an ops problem. So as we increase and empower our developers, so we unfortunately push more and more operational control on them where these things need to be considered. So what's the structure of your company? Can you do this? How do you develop? How do you get the money? How does this all fit in? And then that's when you can look at that cloud-native continuum and say, yes, we're over here, we want to be here, or we're over here and we're quite happy staying there, thank you very much. Those are all different drivers. So are there any questions other than nobody's allowed to ask about my beard and nobody's allowed to ask me about my accent? No, nothing. Okay, fine, you can ask about the beard. No, fine, okay. Well, listen, thank you very much. Salesy stuff, twist lock. You should totally twist lock as often as you can. Swing by the booth, come and make fun of me, and I'd love to speak to you. And there's details and stuff there if you want to get in touch.
All right, thank you. Yeah, thanks everyone, and thank you for attending this afternoon session of the ecosystems. I'm Dan Powers. Probably some of you have been in previous sessions. I've heard me introduce myself 3 times now, but I've been working at Docker about 4 years and work on partner technology issues and integration. And the last session, with Ashley, you talked about Continuum, how to use or how to choose what to use. And this session, it seems going to talk about how to choose with confidence. All right. So I'd like to welcome Xavier Vello, who's has the interesting title of container zoologist. I could talk about that one at dinner. And from Datadog. And so Xavier Vello, please welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the introduction. So yeah, I'm a container zoologist. I worked at Datadog as a software engineer in the container monitoring team, and my job is to integrate with Docker, Kubernetes, Mesos, Nomad, Ranchers. So basically, I eat every RC for breakfast and try to make sure we collect metrics, logs, and APM traces for you as easily as possible. I'm going to talk today about one project we did last quarter that was running container security scans. So Ashley didn't talk a lot about Twistlock, so I'm going to talk about Twistlock for him because that's one of the scanners we integrated with. Just to start, I'm with Datadog. We are a SaaS monitoring company. We monitor your metrics, your APM, your logs, and we just announced Synthetics. We are hiring, and we are in the expo hall if you want to come see a demo or discuss about anything about the talk or how to monitor containers. So what was this project? This project was ensuring our container images were secure because our monitoring is based on an agent. You install an agent on your host, and this agent is going to connect to your kubelet, to the Docker daemon, to your applications, and get metrics. So it has a pretty broad access. And it's installed on every host for every other customers, and we have thousands of customers. So security is very important for us. Make sure the agent is secure and work as intended and cannot be used to escalate privileges. One of the challenges we have with the Datadog agent is it has different moving parts in different languages. The main agent is in Go. We have integrations in Python, and we also have a Java daemon for JMX. So we want to be proactive. We want to always be on the lookout for new vulnerabilities and be as transparent as possible for our users, because our users give us lots of trust, and we have to deserve it. So we want to be as transparent as possible. So what is a container scan, a security scan? There's lots of scanners on the market. All of them, they come with a database of known vulnerabilities, known issues, good practices to apply, and you can even feed them custom compliance rules. And this comes with the scanner. And then you input your image, and it's going to dissect the image, get all the packages, get all the Python dependencies, the Java dependencies, look at file hashes and file types, and then joining the two together to see what's not great in your image. And it's going to spit out a report with vulnerabilities, with how to improve your image. And you could even use this report as a yes-no signal to block deployment if there are vulnerabilities in your image. So this is great. This is great for using in a data center. You just pull the image, you wait for the scan to complete, and then once the scan is green, you can deploy on prod. That's great. But then the issue with us was that manual scanning had some limitations. So that was the first step, discovering the system, triggering scan manually. So it's pretty easy. For every scanner, basically, you just push the image to the registry. Most of them have a custom registry you have to push to. Some of them are able to watch your own repository directly. And then you wait for 10 minutes because there's going to be lots of layers and lots of information to handle. And then you open the website, and it's still scanning 10 minutes later. So to be honest, that was kind of a frustrating experience iterating over these kind of scanners, because you change it and you update a dependency, you want a new scan, and it's taking quite a long time. And you have to repeat that for so many scanners. We wanted to do better than that. So we decided, okay, how can we automate the process to make it easier for us to have these results? So we started with automating the scan itself. So you saw I was manually pushing with my Docker CLI. I have a CI, I have a GitLab CI. So we set the GitLab CI to push images to the scanners directly. And we also set scanners that were able to scan an external repository to directly scan our Docker Hub repo. And that was great. That way you don't have to Docker push. And then we said, okay, let's start with looking at the scan results when we trigger RC1. So code freeze. We have a week of QA. At the beginning of the week, let's look at the reports. And we're going to act accordingly. And if there were any vulnerabilities, we can still act on them and repair them before the release. And then you look at, so you can set up very easily automated security scanning. And this is the GitLab task we use to mirror the images on Quay. So pretty easy, basic CI stuff. It's really easy. And then you do the math. We have currently 4 images: the agent with Java plugin, Doxter's standalone for custom metrics, and the new cluster agent for Kubernetes clusters monitoring. And we support 4 scanners: Aqua, Claire from Quay.io, the Docker Trusted Registry, and Twistlux. And we wanted to scan master, of course, but also latest, because you want to make sure you don't have vulnerabilities in your previous versions, because these are the versions that are actually running in your client's infrastructure. And that's a total of 32 reports to look at. That's way too much. And you have to go to the website and download the report and look at them. They don't have the same format. They don't have the same terminology. So we said, yeah, that does not scale. And also, RC1 is pretty late in the production cycle. We release an agent every 6 weeks. So after 5 weeks of development, we freeze, build RC1, and then we target 1 week of QA. But then what happens if there is an actual vulnerability that will delay the release, because we're probably going to need to redo a full QA cycle. And updating a dependency can be pretty simple, but you might need to update to a new minor version that could have side effects. So that was not the best for us. We did that for a few weeks, a few months, but then we decided, no, we need something else. And that's the second step of our journey with automation. We also automated the alerting. So this is step 1. We have a bunch of registries, and we have GitLab pushing images, and the registry is also watching the Docker Hub. So that's the first step. And then I said, oh, we are a monitoring company. Can we actually monitor it? So we are monitoring the registries, getting metrics and events from them, and with our alerting pipelines, triggering alerts on Slack, on email. And this allowed us to be able to get information pushed to us instead of pulling it regularly. So that was pretty simple. I won't go into the details of the check, but this is the Python code that allows me to get the metrics from Twistlux. So all the examples I'm showing are Twistlux, because this is the one scanner I've been working on, but we integrate with all the other scanners I was mentioning. And it's pretty easy. It runs every 15 seconds, get metrics, get the results of the scans. In metrics I can use, and then I can put everything in the dashboard. And I can see the images we are scanning, the severity, and also the size of the images. And this is something I can work with. And this is something that I can plug more scanners inside. Also, it's pretty easy once you have the metric to set up a monitor. So what we said is we set a monitor. If we have any vulnerability high or critical, fire up an alarm, because this is something we want to look now. We don't want to wait for RC1. We want to look at it now. And it's pretty easy to send it to Slack directly. Also, because we run the scans via GitLab, we could monitor the GitLab pipeline itself. So we get metrics from the GitLab results, and if there are failures in the scan, we can get an alert on that. I didn't want to set security scans to be blocking for the release, because we are like 6 teams now contributing to the package. I didn't want the APM team to be blocked because there was a vulnerability in the Docker image. So I didn't put that blocking for the pipeline, but it's still a failure, and it's still a failure I can track. And then this is the monitor I'm using for that. So you can see in the bottom some bars. There were previous failures, and then after we remove the vulnerability, it goes back to green. So I was preparing this talk, saying, okay, how can I show how good it is actually? And October 31st, yeehaw, I got a vulnerability, so I can take screenshots. So we got October 31st, a new vulnerability is published on libtsn1. I got a Slack alert. I got the Slack alert from the registry scan. I got my CI failing, soft failing. And I can directly go to my dashboard and say, OK, I have a new vulnerability. It's on a libtsn1, and it's affecting 6 images out of the 8. Oops. OK, let's have a look at that. I go directly to the console. This is the description of the vulnerability. It's a potential denial of service vulnerability, so it's classified as high. OK. It's affecting libtsn 6.1. OK. And then I can have a look at the Debian CV database, because our images are based on Debian. And you see, OK, can I upgrade to a new non-vulnerable version? Nope. No new version is published. OK. And then let's go to the notes at the bottom. And the notes say it's minor. It's high, but it's minor because it's not exploitable at runtime. OK. So you see, this is an investigation you have to do, and you can't really do that if you are pressed to release. We could do that because that was 3 weeks before the freeze, and we were able to take more time to investigate. So can I directly remove the package? Is it safe to remove it? apt-get depends on it. I can't remove apt-get because we have customers installing new dependencies or custom software for custom checks. So we can't remove apt-get from the image. But one thing that was interesting is in the CV description, they say the vulnerability is on ASN1 parser, which is a binary. And one of the things that's great with Debian package is they split the library, the development packages, the development headers, and the binaries. And ASN1 parser is shipped with the libtsn1 bin package. And it's not installed in the image. So basically, we're fine. That's actually false positives. What's happening here is that the CV packages, they are tracked at the source package level, libtsn1-6, and not at the binary level, not the binary package level. So that was actually a false positive. We discussed this with upstream scanners, and we decided to whitelist it. So we whitelisted it for us, and we gave documents to our customers saying, this is the investigation we did, and we consider it's a false positive, and it's safe to whitelist it. Instead of having a customer calling my support saying, oh, I can't deploy the new agent because it's blocked by the scanner, we can be proactive and communicate with them what's happening. So as soon as we whitelisted the vulnerability, the CI scans went back to green, and then the Slack notification for the registry build went back to green, and my dashboard went back to a nice blank state. So yeah, that was I think a great example of how we could do that before waiting for RC1. 3 weeks before the freeze, we were able to take some time to do that and be able to be proactive. Because had that not been a false positive, we might have wanted to maybe start a new bug fix release to patch it as soon as possible, not wait for the next release. Yep. So we ran several scanners, and we do because nobody's perfect. Nobody has the complete perfect database. So having several scanners is going to help you detect things. Scanner A can detect things Scanner B could not detect. So it's good to have more coverage. Don't forget to scan many versions, not only master, but also what's actually running right now. Triage results as soon as possible. And this is what we did. And having results pushed to you helps being as reactive as possible. And don't forget, these are automated system. Automated system, they have the flaws and they have their false positives. So it's always good to take some time to investigate on them. Thank you very much. Do you have any question? Yes?
I would like to know if this integration that you have with Twixsoft is available for other clients of Datadog.
Come again?
Because we are using Datadog, and we are looking for some solution like this for security. So I would like to know if this solution that this integration that you have with
Twistlock, yeah.
Twistlock is available for the current customer of Datadog.
Okay. So the question was, yes, sorry, you had the mic. Yes, so do we have this out of the box? Right now we don't. We are currently working with Twistlock and Aqua to release integrations. But if you're interested in, for example, if you actually are running Twistlock right now, I could share the check and you can start running it now without waiting for the official release. But every scanner they all have JSON REST APIs, so that was really easy. You look at the check, it's only authenticate, get some JSON, unserialize it, and iterate on it. So if you're interested, come see me after the talk, and we can share the code for that.
Any other questions? Raise a hand. Going once? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.